Hello, everyone. Thank you for participating of our webinar, Smart Alerts, Enhancing Resilience in Humanitarian Networks and Climate Extremes. All statements expressed by Fundação Getúlio Vargas employees and guests in our online events and broadcasts exclusively represent their opinions and not necessarily FGV's institutional position. We also reiterate that everyone present here agreed to participate in this event of their own free will, and they consent to be recorded in this broadcast, which will be posted later on FGV's official channels. To continue with this transmission, we ask that you express your agreement by verbalizing or signing your agreement. If you agree, please. Okay, thank you so much. So today, Q&A, so any questions, please use via Slido. You can send your questions by clicking on the link in the video description and participate with us. I'm going to start presenting our webinar, Smart Alerts, Enhancing Resilience in Humanitarian Networks and Climate Extremes. My name is Susana Pereira. I am Director of the Innovation Center at FGV in São Paulo, Brazil. So I'm talking from Brazil. And it's a great pleasure to welcome our guests for tonight. I'm also an associate professor at FGV EAESP, and I have here as our guest speakers, Professor Maciel Queiroz, that is my colleague at FGV as well. We work together at the Innovation Research Center and also at the Operations Management Department at FGV EAESP, that is the business school in São Paulo. And our guest international speaker for tonight is Professor Samuel Fosso Wamba. He's Associate Dean for Research at TBS Education in France. Welcome, Professor Samuel. And we also have another guest speaker that is both academic and practitioner, Rodolfo Strauss Nunes, Administrative Coordinator of CEMADEN. CEMADEN is the National Center for Monitoring and Early Warning of Natural Disasters in Brazil. And he is also a guest researcher of the Innovation Center and assistant professor at FAPESP. So welcome, Maciel, Samuel, and Rodolfo. Thank you so much for agreeing to participate tonight with us. I want to start the webinar just with a brief idea of something that was the main motivation for us researchers that are here presented tonight, Maciel, Rodolfo, and Professor Samuel, that motivate us to start a research on climate change and disasters in Brazil. I started doing some research related to climate change and disaster some years ago. And together with Rodolfo, that was a former PhD student at FGV, we did a thorough research about the impact of those climate extremes in Brazil. What we realized by then was that the natural and human-caused disasters were rising globally, but not only in Brazil. And Brazil and other emerging economies at that time were facing frequent severe events, and also globally, climate-related disasters start to cause the majority of deaths, mainly in developed countries. We are in emerging economy, and we are used to experience deaths and major disasters and impacts of climate extremes. But when we start to also witness deaths and other severe impacts in other developed economy, this raised an idea and a motivation to start a new research on how to build resilience through climate adaptation and disaster risk reduction, thinking of resilience as a crucial way of helping not only organizations to face those disasters and the impact of disasters, but also a crucial way to help increasing or reducing the vulnerability of communities. In emerging economies as Brazil, we have several communities that are mainly affected by those changes in climate and also by the severe disasters that are happening throughout different countries, and in Brazil especially. So we start a research project back in 2023, and we are still going with this research. And today we have the opportunity of presenting initial results of some data that we collected and also some insight that the researchers here have to share about their experience, and in Rodolfo's case also the practical experience of monitoring and alert strategies and technology for resilience and adaptability. When we started this research back in 2023, it was founded by CAPES, and we would like to express our gratitude to CAPES for funding this research. The main idea, or the main aim of this research was to identify the key alert practices and technology for monitoring natural disasters used by Brazilian humanitarian networks dealing with the threats of climate extremes. The main aim was identifying also the influence of the adoption of this monitoring and alert practice and technology on the resilience and the impact of the climate extreme on vulnerable communities. Early warning for us, and so far what we have discovered, it's a key to saving lives. So the decrease in disaster-related death is linked to advancements in early warning and risk management. Our project is focusing on understanding how this monitoring and alert system strengthens humanitarian networks. It aligns with UN Sustainable Development Goal 13 that talks about urgent action and climate change, specifically with target 13.1 that talk about strengthening resilience and adaptive capacity to climate-related hazards. Ultimately, the goal that everyone is aiming here is to contribute to a more resilient and sustainable future. So, thinking of this background of this research project funded by CAPES, the topic that we want to explore tonight are three. First one that will be presented by Professor Maciel Queiroz, some insights related to beyond disruption, a contextual pathway to supply chain resilience through digital transformation. Following Professor Maciel's presentation, I'm going to invite Professor Samuel Fosso Wamba to talk about are we preparing for a good AI society? He'll present a bibliometric review and research agenda. And last but not least, our guest from CEMADEN, Rodolfo Strauss, he'll present, his talk will be about early warning system, tools, and practices. Let's start. Professor Maciel, could you please start sharing your presentation?
Yes.
Just remember in the audience, if you want to send us any questions, please use the link provided in the description and participate. It's via Slido.
Okay, now I think my presentation, it's okay.
Yes, it is.
Perfect. Hello, everyone. Thank you very much for attending our webinar. As my colleague and friend Susana said, I'm an associate professor at FGV, so I will present some partial results of part of this project related to supply chain resilience and digital transformation. So the main perspective of this sub-project is related to understand in depth the relationship between resilience and digital transformation and vice versa. Because nowadays we are living in a disrupted world with different complexities and that interact in an intertwined manner. So, for example, climate change and climate shocks, and with pandemics or war risks and so on. So it's not easy to a country or an organization develop strategies without integrate key technologies or integrate some perspectives regarding digital transformation. So traditional supply chains and it exacerbate more in our contemporary world their weaknesses. So it's huge to observe some complex shocks. So we are trying to understand deeper manner aspects related to resilience and how digital transformation can work as an enabler to resilience and adaptability in this complex contemporary world. So our research question in this project is related to, we have two. What is the effect of digital transformation on supply chain resilience across regions? It's very important to understand the difference between the regions, because digital transformation and resilience behave different according to the geographical context, infrastructure, and other variables. So, and the second question following this perspective is more in-depth investigation about how is resilience configured in different geographic contexts. Our main objective is to understand how digital transformation shapes supply chain resilience, basically focusing on three main constructs: agility, adaptability, and visibility. Our assumption is that agility, adaptability, and visibility in the age of digital connectiveness and more in a more integrated relationship between companies, this three perspective could help or could work as a trigger to create more resilience independent of the context, especially when we think about climate change and extreme situations. So we draw an original model. So this model basically we have as independent variable digital transformation. So why digital transformation? Because the literature suggests that digital transformation can strengthen some key capabilities of firms and the network. For example, digital transformation can enhance supply chain visibility, for example, with key technologies like big data analytics and blockchain and artificial intelligence that my friend Samuel will talk about artificial intelligence in the next presentation. Follow me. And also, we hypothesized that digital transformation positively impacts supply chain adaptability. So, with more technology, cutting edge technology, and the companies and organizations reshaping their process and the adaptability to face complex events could be better addressed. So, similarly, we have agility. So, digital transformation enabled by key technologies can also improve the agility and responsiveness of the organizations. So these three variables combined can result in more supply chain resilience. So, also, digital transformation, we hypothesized with a direct flow to supply chain resilience. Okay. But this is not the full model. We have companies and organizations interacting with different actors and an environment that companies don't control the actions, the external actions. So we have, because of this, we model environmental dynamism as a moderator in this main relationship. Okay, it means that, for example, in the relationship between supply chain visibility and supply chain resilience, environmental dynamism can affect positively or negatively. It means, in other words, that environmental dynamism can strengthen or can weaken this relationship. In terms of methodology and data collection, we applied prolific pool to collect data in different regions. Prolific is one of the most trustworthy platform for data collection. We approached more than 500 practitioners across different regions, for example, NA North America, European Union, UK, and Latin America, and South Africa. To strengthen the results and minimize the bias, we collected data in two ways. These ways we are representing as time 1 and time 2, T1 and T2. Why it matters? Because the independent variables we model as with data from the wave 1, and dependent variable we used data from wave 2. Some key findings. First, we analyzed the full model, and in sequence, I'll share some results split by regions. In the full model, we have an interesting result about digital transformation has a strong effect on agility, adaptability, and visibility. But we have not an unexpected result regarding digital transformation has no direct effect on resilience. So because of this, it's very important to use digital transformation to enable key capabilities like agility, adaptability, and visibility. Other aspect related to the full sample is the conclusion regarding that digital transformation will impact resilience only via indirect paths, and the resilience explained, or the variability explained by the model, we achieved a good number, 23%. This number is according to the benchmarks. And analyzing a more granularity perspective, we divide in regions. For example, United Kingdom, we have some key findings related to agility is enabled by digital transformation. Visibility significantly drives resilience. Also, based on this, we draw some customized strategies. It's very important because for each region, we have different strategy, and we have different key findings. So it exacerbates the perspective about digital transformation doesn't work in the same manner in any region. So we need to understand the particularities of each region. So for the next region, we have some other interesting results. For example, North America, digital transformation strongly improve adaptability. European Union, we have agility in terms of contribution to resilience. And in Latin America and South Africa, we have adaptability as one of the most important variable. These results are partial because we use other methods to triangulate to understand more in depth. Some practical recommendations. It's very important to managers and decision makers understand in depth the relationship between digital transformation and resilience to develop more investment in considering the particularities of the regions. Visibility and adaptability should be prioritized. Agility is very important considering the high volatility context, for example. And the partial concluding. So, and some key takeaways. One of the most important part: digital transformation is not a silver bullet. Context matters. It's very important. Digital transformation catalyzes, not guarantees resilience. And resilience is multifaceted and regionally embedded. So future studies could understand this relationship more in depth, considering longitudinal impacts and how digital transformation and resilience behave in a more long-term perspective. So thank you. I am open for some questions after the presentation of our colleagues.
Thank you so much, Maciel. And if you have any questions related to Maciel's presentation, please use the link provided in the description of the video. All the questions are received via Slido, okay? Thank you again, Maciel. And now I'm going to ask Professor Samuel Wamba to start his presentation. Welcome, Professor.
Thank you so much, Professor Susana. So thank you for inviting me. Thank you, my friend Maciel. And also thank you, Rodolfo. So what I'm trying to do here in this presentation is to share some of the insight from a study we did a couple of years back on AI for good society, or good AI society. So basically what happened is that we were reading this report by McKinsey Global Institute, where they were arguing that the use of AI, for example, could help to solve many of our social issues, including almost all related sustainable development goals issues. And then they actually identify like 10 domains where they believe that combining AI with other technology can actually help to solve all these many issues around the world. So about the 10 domains, we have them on the screen. They're talking about crisis response, economic empowerment, educational challenges, environmental challenges, equality and inclusion, health and hunger, information verification and validation, infrastructure management, public and social sector management, and security and justice. So when we were trying to see exactly what was done on AI since the beginning of the AI, we decided to conduct a bibliometric analysis. And then what we did was to identify all the publications that were published since the beginning of AI. Then when we submitted the first draft of the paper, the reviewer told us to focus only during the last 2 periods of the AI publication. And from this 2 periods, what we had was that we got about 40,147 documents. They were published on AI. And when we started dividing this document, can you just go back to the first slide, Maciel? Sorry. So when we started dividing this, when we divided the first one, please. Sorry. Yes, this one. So when we divided this publication into different domains, we saw that actually from the 40,000 documents that we identified on AI across field, we only have 1,048 documents that were dealing with what we call here AI for social goods. And from this 1,000 documents, we can see that the vast majority, 47%, were dealing with health and hunger. And then we have, like, for example, the second largest portion was the infrastructure management, about 26%. And what we believe is relevant for the topic today, which is environmental challenges, we have like 11% of document. And for crisis response, we have 8%. So thank you. Next, please. So when we talk about crisis response, is anything that refers to the management of crisis, such as man-made and natural disaster, disease outbreak like the COVID. And by the way, this paper was published before the COVID, but we were talking already about how we can use AI to manage this kind of crisis. And we also have like search and rescue mission, humanitarian crisis. And when we divided the 1,048 paper we had and we related to crisis responses, we can see that we have a total of 84 publications in the corpus concerning this domain, written between 1996 and 2019. And we can see that half of the document were actually published from 2006 outwards. And when we try to dig down about this number of paper, we saw that the vast majority were actually dealing with natural and man-made disaster, that being about 34% of the paper. And we have 39% of paper dealing with search and rescue efforts, where we have less paper on disease outbreak, only 10. So we can see that if we do the study now, probably we'll have the different result, because since we published the paper, we had the COVID, and the COVID actually accelerated the publication on the topic. Next, please. So we can also see that the most cited paper in this domain was an article published on human-robot interaction in rescue robotics. And you can see that even though the paper was published before COVID, we saw during the COVID that many countries around the world were using human-robot interaction to actually try to deal with COVID, to collect data about patients, or to monitor the temperature of of different people around, moving around. So we can see that the paper before COVID was actually the most cited, even though we didn't have this kind of huge outbreak. Next, please. So, and now we also, regarding like environmental challenges, we had like 130 documents published on this domain between 1994 and 2019. But the half of the paper were actually published after 2018. And then when we try to understand the dynamic of publication around the topic, we saw that the vast majority of paper published in this domain deal with global warming, climate change, and adaptation, about 105 papers. So we can see that there's actually a very big concern about how do we use AI to deal with these worldwide challenges. And then when we start looking about which type of AI were used, we saw that many of the type of AI that were used was deep learning, artificial neural network, and smart grid. And 1 in 4 paper on these environmental challenges were trying to answer questions such as animal and plant conservation and biodiversity. We can see that this is actually a big concern around the world about how do we actually use technology to help us to monitor all this biodiversity or animals. And when we try to understand which technologies were actually used, we saw that they were using actually artificial intelligence for ecosystem services, technologies, and they were also using a lot of machine learning. Next, Maciel. And also, when we look at what was the highly cited paper in environmental challenges, it came up that the paper entitled "It's About Time: A Conceptual Framework for the Representation of Temporal Dynamic in Geographic Information System," published its Annal of the Association of American Geographers, was actually the most cited paper in this domain. Next, please. So what we also decided to do after doing the bibliometric analysis, what we did was to try to organize focus group with scholars and practitioners in this domain to try to come up with some kind of research questions where scholar, junior scholar, PhD student, or even senior scholar can actually take this research question and start their own research program. So we came up with a set of questions that we divided into different subdomains. For example, when we talk about natural and man-made disaster, we have a set of research questions, including how can AI help reduce uncertainty in decision-making during disaster management? And then we saw that during the COVID, as you know, this was done before COVID, but during COVID, we saw where people were using drone powered by AI to try to facilitate the decision-making process in order to know how to allocate resources, locate the resources to manage different regions around the world to provide services to those who were actually in difficult situation during the COVID. Another research question could be, for example, how can AI support social resilience during natural disaster? Going back to what Maciel was presenting about supply chain resilience, but also during this type of conditions, when we have this kind of disaster, it's important to analyze what is going on into social media in order to know how to address issues that citizens are actually raising on these different social media. So how to analyze that in real time to detect, monitor, and manage this type of disaster. And also another important research question that emerged from focus group was that how can we actually use AI to assess the level of damage created by this disaster in order to facilitate the delivery of resources or medicine, for example. And also, how can we use AI with other technologies such as drone, which is exactly what has happened during COVID, in order to enhance disaster response. And the last research question was basically how can all aid organizations can actually use AI not only to improve their decision making, but also to actually allocate resources and improve the coordination of their effort on the ground, including collaborating with all the stakeholders involved in managing natural and man-made disaster. Next, please, Maciel. Then also regarding search and rescue, for example, we also generated a set of research questions, including, for example, how can we actually use AI to help during search and rescue in very far remote regions or difficult regions? And also, how can we actually combine AI with autonomous agents or robots in order to help to rescue people in very extreme conditions? And we actually proud to see that this research question that we actually generated before COVID were implemented in part of the world where we saw that people were using robots to access people or to provide resources to people in extreme condition. Another research question that we generated was, how can AI be used to optimize the rescue strategy for a given mission under strict time constraint pertaining to the life of individual? Again, how to use technology combined with other strategy to help to save life in this difficult situation. And the last one was about how can we use AI system? How can AI system can use satellite data? Because as you know, when we have a disaster, usually the local network will be destroyed. Therefore, we need to find a way how to combine AI system or to use satellite data to be able to see how to move across the disaster region or region that were affected by this disaster. Next, thank you. Regarding climate change and adaptation, we also generated a set of research questions, including, for example, how can we actually use AI to improve our different indicators to see how, for example, the climate change is impacting some of the activities, specifically in emerging economies, because as we know, in those countries, they struggle to monitor their climate change indicators. And also, how can AI help to discover, for example, unanticipated climate change events? Because we don't know a lot about what will happen in some of the region where climate change could potentially have a huge damage. We cannot anticipate what will happen in some region because of the lack of data or the lack of insight from the ground or what can happen. And the objective is, can we use AI to help to discover this kind of potential unanticipated event that may happen? And also, we have another interesting research question we believe scholars could tackle in order to improve our understanding on how AI can help to develop better responses or contingency or even continuation planning before a climate change event arises. That means, how can we actually better prepare in order to face some of these very, very extreme events, for example? Another research question is about how can we actually combine Internet of Things technology and AI system to be more precise in monitoring and control global warming. So imagine, for example, recently Maciel published a very nice paper about what he was calling Internet of Things, of using the metaphor of bird. If we can have actually IoT connected to different moving target or moving resources, can we use this information combined to AI in order to better predict or better control global warming? And also, to what extent actually can company use IoT, Internet of Things, and AI system to precisely evaluate and monitor their carbon footprint or carbon imprint? Because as you know now, this is a lot of pressure on company to reduce their carbon footprint. And the question will be, how do we design actually indicators that will allow us to make sure that we are reducing our carbon footprint? Can we use AI on IoT to actually help company to achieve that objectives? And the last research question was about how can we use AI application to actually combat climate change. That may be difficult, but I don't think it's a very difficult research question. But still, we do believe that scholars should be focusing on, can we use AI or other technology, including like blockchain, to know how we can use this thing, for example, for carbon market, for example, or to combat climate change. Next, please.
This is the last, Samuel.
Okay, so thank you very much, Maciel. So the paper is published. This is just a portion of the paper where we are only dealing with crisis response and also environmental challenges. That means we are dealing with the 2 domains of the 10 domains that were identified by McKinsey Global Institute. So I encourage you to go and read the full paper, and if you have more questions, I'm here to try to answer these questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Samuel. Thank you for those insightful future pathways and questions that for sure is going to excite everyone that is listening to us right now. Thank you again. And now I'm going to ask Rodolfo Strauss from CEMADEN to start his presentation. Please, Rodolfo, go ahead.
Thank you very much. Hello, everyone. It's a pleasure to participate in this webinar and to be able to share some experience in the area of natural disasters. I am administrative coordinator at CEMADEN, but what is CEMADEN? CEMADEN is the National Center for Monitoring and Alerts for Natural Disasters in Brazil. Okay. So I think that the main question we can ask would be, why did early warning systems become important? And in reality, the answer includes a sum of factors. First, we are starting to become more aware of the occurrence of disasters that can occur more and more frequently around the world. So we can see that such events have been part of our daily lives, if not from our own experience, then from the daily news reports of earthquakes, tsunamis, hurricanes, torrential rains, floods, droughts, etc. But in fact, such events are natural hazards by climate change or weather extremes or cyclical natural events. And when they occur, they cause damage because they are these other 2 factors: people in vulnerable situation and exposure to natural hazards. This means that a disaster only happens when these natural force events occur in inhabited areas where there is exposure to the event and points of vulnerability. And all of this leads to a growing number of people affected, including fatalities worldwide. Therefore, to solve this problem, the use of early warning systems emerged a solution of which I will talk about more. So, to contextualize the importance of topic, the United Nations launched an initiative called Early Warnings for All, encouraging this type of initiative in all nations. Here, I brought the statement by the UN Secretary General, Antonio Guterres, from 2022, in which he said, early warnings and actions save lives. To that end, today, I announce the United Nations will spearhead new action to ensure every person on Earth is protected by early warning systems within 5 years. Therefore, it is clear that we need to accelerate the implementation of these actions. Here, I have brought a framework published on the website of the Early Warning for All initiative, which explains well the composition of an early warning system. Note that it's centered on people. It has 4 axes. The first axis is knowledge of disaster risk. That is necessary to identify the natural hazards and vulnerability involved. It has the UN Office for Disaster Risk Reduction as a reference. The second axis is monitoring and forecasting the occurrence of natural threats. So it is an axis focused on meteorology and ecosystem science. It has the WMO as a reference. The third is dissemination and communication of warnings. That is how to alert the population, which can be through cell phone sirens and other equipment. It has the International Telecommunication Union as a reference. CEMADEN, as we will explain in the next slide, acts mainly on these 3 axes. And the fourth is disaster preparedness and response, with the action of several organizations with the objective of offering prevention and the rescue service. So, this is CEMADEN's early warning systems. The first step in the process is to collect data on natural phenomena, such as rain, wind, and river levels. To do this, we have approximately 4,000 automatic rain gauges, also known as data collection platforms, in addition to 90 meteorological radars. Additionally, we also receive data from networks of equipment from other partners. When collected, the data is transmitted in real time to a data center via cellular telephone network, where it is stored and processed. Then we have some systems that process the data. The main one being called Salvar, which indicates when certain thresholds indicating danger are reached in a given location, excessive rain, for example. Then multidisciplinary teams that work in shifts 24 hours a day analyze the information together and issue warnings directed to the civil defense units. These civil defense units then disseminate the alerts to the population at risk, mainly via cell phones and in some risk areas with sirens. Here, I have brought the distribution map of CEMADEN's early warning systems equipment network. The yellow dots are the rainfall platforms. The green dots are the hydrological platforms specialized in monitoring river levels. The blue and brown dots are the agrometeorological platforms, which are specialized in monitoring droughts, as they also measure soil moisture. And we can also see the black dots, which are the meteorological radars, and the shading around the dots indicates the coverage area of about 250 kilometers. Here are the pictures of our data collection platforms. The first is the automatic rain gauge. The second is the hydrological platform positioned on top of a bridge to monitor the river. The third is the agrometeorological platform that monitors drought in Brazil semi-arid. Here, pictures of our radars. They are more robust and more expensive equipment. And finally, I brought this categorization from one of the works in development and with the FGVin team, in which we classified the practices and technologies of early warning systems into three groups: geospatial tools, remote sensing, and data analysis and support tools. Each of them we divided into traditional technologies or hard technologies, which would be the data collection platforms and radars in remote sensing, and data centers in support tools, and also emerging technologies or soft technologies such as drones and IoT in remote sensing, and artificial intelligence in analysis tools. So, to close what we presented, I highlighted here three research challenges for early warning systems. One, understand how emerging technologies and digital transformation can boost early warning systems for disasters. Two, understand how organizations that are part of the disasters monitoring and warning services networks can be strengthened and better integrated. And three, understand how practices for dissemination awareness to the target audience can be improved. So thank you very much. I really appreciate everyone's attention. This is my email address for questions or comments. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Rodolfo. I'm glad that you presented your email at the end as well, because right now we are running out of time. We are coming to the end of our webinar. But before ending, I would like to thank you everyone for the audience, and also let everyone know that all of us, we are researchers at different institutions, but we are available. If you have any questions, please contact us through LinkedIn or through our institutional emails. And once more, I would like to thank you, our speakers for tonight. Great insights related to early warning system, the importance of resilience for building all the capabilities that we need to look for those signs that can help us to prevent disasters, not only for vulnerable communities, as I mentioned at the beginning, but also to help different kind of organizations facing those disasters and reduce the impact of them. So thank you again for your presentation, for your ideas, Maciel, Samuel, and Rodolfo. It was great to be with you tonight for this webinar. See you all next time.
Thank
Thank
you.
you so much. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.